You may start.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Good morning, devotees. So today we are going to read Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 4, canto 4, chapter 3, verse number 3 and 4. So let's get started. So first we are going to read Srimad Bhagavatam 4.3.3. इष्ट्वा स वाजपेयेन ब्रह्मस्थान् अभिभूय च बृहस्पति सवं नाम समारेभे क्रतूतमम्. Ishtva, synonyms, Ishtva, after performing, Saha, he, Daksha, Vajapayena, with the Vajapeya sacrifice, Brahmasthan, Shiva and his followers, Abhibhuya, neglecting, Cha, and Brahaspati Savam, the Brahaspati Sava, Nama, called, Samarebhe, began, Kratu Uttamam, the best of sacrifices. Translation. Daksha began a sacrifice named Vajapeya, and he became excessively confident of his support by Lord Brahma. He then performed another sacrifice named Brahaspati Sava. In the Vedas, purport, in the Vedas, it is prescribed that before performing a Brahaspati Sava sacrifice, one should perform the sacrifice named Vajapeya. While performing these sacrifices, however, Daksha neglected great devotees like Lord Shiva. According to Vedic scriptures, the demigods are eligible to participate in yagyas and share the oblation, but Daksha wanted to avoid them. All sacrifices are intended to pacify Lord Vishnu, but Lord Vishnu includes all his devotees. Brahma, Lord Shiva, and other demigods are all obedient servants of Lord Vishnu. Therefore, Lord Vishnu is never satisfied without them. But Daksha, being puffed up with his power, wanted to deprive Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva of participation in the sacrifice, understanding that if one satisfies Vishnu, it is not necessary to satisfy his followers. But that is not the process. Vishnu wants his followers to be satisfied first. Lord Krishna says, Mad Bhakta Puja Bhiya Adhika. The worship of my devotees is better than worship of me. Similarly, in the Shiva Purana, it is stated that the best mode of worship is to offer oblations to Vishnu. But better than that is to worship the devotees of Krishna. Thus, Daksha's determination to neglect Lord Shiva and the sacrifices was not fitting. And we'll go to the next one, which is Srimad Bhagavatam 4.3.4. And this has a short purport. So let's get started. Tasmin Brahma Rishya Sarve Devarshi Pitra Devata Asankrita Swastiya Yanas Tatpatnayascha Sa Bhritraka. Synonyms. Tasmin, in that sacrifice, Brahma Rishya, the Brahma Rishis, Sarve, all, Devarshis, the Devarshis, Pitri, ancestors, Devata, demigods, Asan, were, Krita Swasti Ayana, were very nicely decorated with ornaments. Tatpatnaya, their wives, Cha and Sa Sabhartaka along with their husbands. Translations. While the sacrifice was being performed, many Brahmarishis, great sages, ancestral demigods, and other demigods, their wives, all very nicely decorated with ornaments, attended from different parts of the universe. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. In any auspicious ceremony, such as a marriage ceremony, sacrificial ceremony, or puja ceremony, it is auspicious for married women to decorate themselves very nicely with ornaments, fine clothing, and cosmetics. These are auspicious signs. Many heavenly women assembled with their husbands, the Devarshis, demigods, and Rajashris, in the great sacrifice named Brahaspati Sava. It is specifically mentioned in this verse that they were approached with their husbands, for when a woman is decorated nicely, her husband becomes more cheerful. The nice decorations, ornaments, and dress of the wives of the demigods and sages and cheerfulness of the demigods and sages themselves were all auspicious signs for the ceremony. So we have these particular verses that we will do. So let's get started. Om Jnanatimmirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swa Padantikam Vanchakalpatarubhishcha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so so we are still, continuing, the previous chapter. I'm going to give some sort of a background to these verses before actually getting into these verses. So the previous chapter was discussing about the enmity between Daksha and, his son-in-law, that is who's Lord Shiva. And then there was a lot of like cursing and counter cursing going on, between their supporters. So we know that we all get so agitated with the modes of material nature, and even Nandishwar actually got agitated, and even he also started cursing, and there was Bhrigu Muni also. So there was a lot of unpleasantness that was going on, and here in this chapter, Daksha wants to perform sacrifices, but he does not want to call Lord Shiva. And he has actually become very proud because he has become the chief of the Prajapatis. And so we see that negativity is still going on, from Daksha's side. So here it is said that Daksha, he began a sacrifice called Vajapeya, and he became increasingly confident of his support of Lord Brahma, and then he performed another great sacrifice named Brahaspati Sava. So it is said in the purport, like Srila Prabhupada makes a couple very important points. He says that actually before one performs this Brahaspati Sava sacrifice, you have to perform another sacrifice called Vajapeya. So Daksha decided to, perform these sacrifices. But in the purport, it is mentioned that he neglected Shiva, Lord Shiva. And according to Vedic injunctions, these all the demigods, they should come, and they should come in all these yagyas, and they should share in all the oblations. But Daksha, he just wanted to, pacify Lord Vishnu, but he did not want to include the devotees of Lord Vishnu, like the highest devotees. Actually, Lord Shiva is the biggest devotee of Lord Vishnu, and he's and Lord Vishnu is never satisfied when Lord Shiva is actually ignored. But and so it's mentioned also that Brahma, Lord Shiva, and other demigods, they are obedient servants of Lord Vishnu, and Lord Vishnu is not satisfied without them. But Daksha didn't want to include particularly Lord Shiva and Brahma, and he thought that let me just satisfy Lord Vishnu, and that will be it. Let me just concentrate on that. But Prabhupada makes it very clear that that is not the process, as he writes in the purport, because Lord Krishna is never really satisfied unless his devotees are satisfied first. And he also writes, from Srimad Bhagavatam, that the worship of my devotees is better than the worship of me. That is what Lord Krishna always believes. And also in the Shiva Purana, also it is written over here that the best thing is the best mode of worship, you have to offer worship to Lord Vishnu, but better than that is to worship the devotees of Krishna. So when Daksha neglected Lord Shiva, that was actually a very grievous error. And this is actually in many scriptures, like Prabhupada has mentioned two over here, but then in many scriptures, this is actually emphasized. Like, for example, in Padma Purana in Uttarakhanda, also it's stated, Aradhanam Sarvesham, Vishnur Aradhanam Param, Tasmat Parataram Devi, Tadi Yanam Samachanam. That is, of all types of worship, worship of Lord Vishnu is best. And better than the worship of Lord Vishnu is the worship of his devotee, the Vaishnavas. So, Lord Vishnu is not satisfied. He gets very unhappy if the devotees are disgraced in any way, which was what was happening due to Daksha's extreme pride. So it's very interesting, because in the purport it is mentioned that Daksha was actually quite wanting to please Lord Vishnu. That was his chief aim. But he just neglected the devotees, the topmost devotee of Lord Vishnu. So that was where his error lies. So I thought I'll spend some time today, in discussing the level of devotees, so that we also understand, so that in our bhakti process, what really is the different levels of devotion. And how sometimes even a very top level person, if the bhakti is not really shuddh, can get, deviated from the real purpose of pleasing Lord Vishnu. So in Ishopnishad and Nectar of Devotion, in Ishopnishad Mantra 6 and NOI 6, top-level devotees, the characteristics are mentioned, and also Prabhupada in the purport there, he mentioned the different levels of devotees. So if we go to Mantra 6 in Ishopnishad, it says, that he who systematically sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord, who sees all living entities as his part and parcels, and who sees the Supreme Lord in everything, never hates anything or any being. And so this is a very top level devotee. So there are three types of devotees. One is the Kanishta Adhikari. He's the lowest level of the devotee. And he's got the lowest level of realization. So he's actually going to a place of worship, like whatever, like the temple or whatever the place of worship is. And, according to the scriptures, he's also worshiping the Lord. But they mainly think that the Lord is in the place of worship. That's it. And nowhere else. This is where I have to go to worship the Lord, and this is it. And they do not know, they do not have any ideas of, okay, which devotee is what type, or, they don't have interest. In fact, they even quarrel about, okay, my devotion is better than yours. Maybe they quarrel about themselves. And, they go through all these routine formulas and rituals and so on. But these are actually very materialistic devotees, and they're trying to get to the spiritual platform, but they do not yet have the realization. So, in summary, they only see God, the Lord, in the place of worship. Then we have the Madhyama level devotees, and this is the on the medium level plane. And these people are able to distinguish between four categories. One is Supreme Lord, and then one is the bhaktas. They can make out, okay, this bhaktas, and then they know that there are some who are innocent, and that is, they do not know much about Lord. And the fourth type of person is the atheist. The atheists, they do not believe in the Lord, so they can distinguish. The Madhyama devotee, can distinguish between these four, and he loves the Lord. And what happens is that he makes friends with all the bhaktas, and he also tries to preach to those people who do not know much about the Lord, and he avoids people who are not believing in the Lord. So he's more than the Kanishtaadhikari, a little bit more advanced in that respect, that he's also considering these categories. And then we have the highest level. The highest level is the Uttamadhikari. And Uttamadhikari is, he sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord. He sees that there is a spiritual spark within everyone. So even if it is a dog or a human being, he treats it this at the same level, because he sees the soul in them. And then he knows that, because of their previous life activities, maybe, they got this body or that body. So he respects everyone, even the atheist he respects. He's not like discriminating. He sees everyone as part and parcel of the Lord. He has, in other words, he has what they call equal vision to everyone. So we see that there are these three different categories of different categories of the Lord. And we heard a lot of lectures by Rampad Swami Maharaj, in the past few days, and he was saying an interesting thing, that the objective of deity worship is to get to where you have an equal vision towards everyone, because that is really the highest level of a devotee. And it's also said that, sometimes the highest level devotee, they may come from a low family, need not be, a low means like a low birth family or whatever. They maybe even have a diseased body. But the thing is, the pure devotee is a pure devotee, no matter what the body is or what the outside seems like. And in Nectar of Instruction, it's said very nicely that it is exactly like the water of the Ganges, which is sometimes during the rainy season full of bubbles, foam, and mud. The Ganges water do not become polluted. And so those who are advanced in spiritual understanding will bathe in the Ganges without considering the condition of the water. So, okay, it's polluted, but Ganges is Ganges. So that's how the highest level devotee is. He's always worthy of a lot of respect. Um, so, of course, over here, we do see that, Daksha's not really functioning in that level. He's only wants to please Lord Vishnu at this stage. So, but it's interesting, to know about the different categories of the devotees, and to see that where you should reach at where you should actually attempt to reach through all your bhakti and everything. So there's a very interesting story by Srila Prabhupada, and it's called, he titled it, "A Devotee Has Equal Vision." And this is also the end of Shastras. And in 1973, when he was in Stockholm, when he was giving a lecture, he told this story. And I thought I'll just share it. So an animal, when it is, you go to take it to the slaughterhouse, the animal is always very scared, and because they know that they're going to be killed, intuitively they realize it. And actually, the soul is there even in an animal. So once what happened was, there was a particular hunter, and he was half killing all the animals in the forest, just leaving them there, suffering. And Narad Muni came there once, and he just saw, and he was just so disgusted, and he was so, seeing all those half-dead, suffering animals. Then he came across the hunter, and he said, "Sir, if you're killing the animals, why don't you just kill them all at a time? And why are you killing them, half killing them? They are suffering, and you'll have to suffer in the same way. That's the worst thing." But the hunter, he just didn't realize. He said that my father has trained me to kill them in this particular way, though. So I'm just, this is my occupation, profession, and I'm killing animals, and I'm just killing them, half killing them. So Narad Muni told him, but then, he saw Narad Muni, and, he got impressed, because this was, after all, a very saintly person. And he said, now, so he became a little repentant. He said, okay, I didn't realize, but how do I get rid of this sinful life? Then Narad Muni told him, okay, you go to the bank of the Ganges and chant Hare Krishna, and chant the names of the Lord. And then the hunter said, but, how will I get my food? Muni said, don't worry, I'll arrange it. And of course, when the villagers saw that, and the hunter sat and he started chanting, and then, when the villagers saw that this saint, that, he has now transformed, and he has become a saintly person, they started getting him like rice and, everything to eat. So he really didn't even have a shortage of food. And he just kept chanting and chanting and chanting. And then later on, once then Narad Muni came to see him, and then since he had become his disciple, he jumped to over the road to receive his spiritual master. And so Narad Muni and his friend asked him, why are you jumping, across the road? So he said, sir, there are so many ants over here. I was just trying to save their lives. So from a person who was not even, who was just this indiscriminately half killing animals, so many animals here and there, he became a person who could not even hurt an ant, you know. And so this, Prabhupada says that this is what is called saintly life. That is, you look at everybody equally. You look at everybody in an equal way. So that is the beauty of it. And there's also another thing, and this is actually not possible unless you truly love Krishna. So there is another book called Bonds of Love. I don't know if you've read it, but if you've read it, there was, Urmila Devi Dasi. There's an excerpt from it which I really wanted to, discuss. So she saw Prabhupada, of course, a couple of times, and also in summer of 76, when he has come to New York for Rath Yatra. And her father was with her, and also was her 18-month son in her lap. Prabhupada pointed, and he says that, just like a mother is loving a son without any expectation of return, in that way you should love Krishna. And Urmila Mataji's father asked, will helping her son help her love Krishna? So Prabhupada said, no, but loving Krishna will help her love her son. And then she said that she understood on that day that, once you have Krishna in the center and you're attached, then only you can love everyone else. It's not that you love people on a more mundane level and then you can love Krishna. So when Krishna is at the center and your bhakti is pure, then you are very, very, then you love everyone else. It's that's what is there. And actually, Vaishnav, we are taught so many times about Vaishnav Aprad. And Vaishnav Aprad is, do not do harm to a Vaishnav. And we have, like, even our scriptures, they keep on telling us, like in Srimad Bhagavatam, we have the story of Durvasa Muni, for example, how he offended King Amrish. And the Vishnu and he created a demon, and Vishnu Sudarshan Chakra actually chased him and destroyed the demon. And then he went running to Brahma, Shiva, and the demigods, and they said that you can't do it. We can't do anything because you offended a pure devotee. He goes to Vishnu. Vishnu says, I can't do anything either. So he goes back to Amrish Maharaj, begs forgiveness, and only then he could be saved from the wrath of the Sudarshan Chakra. So the Lord is very particular about not offending his devotees. And, we see so many other things like Jaya Vijaya in the case of King Indrumna. And we also see in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there are so many examples, which is the mad elephant, like, like it is a mad elephant kind of offense, which kind of destroys the whole garden, whatever offending a devotee. So your bhakti lata creature, that is totally dries up. So, like, yeah, it said, Yadi Vaishnava Aprad Uthe Hatimata Upadesh Vachinde Tar Sukhi Jai Pata. That is, if the devotee commits an offense at the feet of a Vaishnava while cultivating the creeper of devotional service in the material world, his offense is compared to a mad elephant that uproots the creature, creeper and breaks it. In this way, the leaves of the creeper are all dried up. So we have to be very, this is really an impediment in bhakti. I think a lot of us, at times in anger, when we are upset, we just kind of say something against a devotee without thinking, or, criticize even, or, even do worse than that, So I think it's always very, very important to know that you really don't have the total picture all the time, first and foremost. And most of all, that Lord Krishna is not pleased, because that devotee is actually making an attempt to please Lord Krishna. So Lord is very dear. It's just like how your children are very dear to you. The devotees are very dear to Lord Krishna. So that is one thing that we always have to say. And even in fact, in Chaitanya Bhagavat, it is said that, a Vaishnava Aprad is like an, it's like you don't get like pure bhakti if you do that, a Vaishnav Aprad. Like it says over here, if one commits an offense against a Vaishnava, even after attaining the mercy of Krishna, his attainment of love of God is checked, So we have to be careful about that. And then when we look at of course, the second verse is kind of simple. The second verse really is that a lot of the Brahma Rishis and demigods and their wives are coming to this sacrifice dressed very nicely. The whole atmosphere is very festive. And this verse is, of course, there's not too much in the purport other than, the grandeur of the ceremony and everything, and of the sacrifice. And it's just a precursor verse, to later verses where Sati wants to go and Lord Shiva forbids her, and, all that. So this is just a verse which tells that how the sacrifice was being performed in a very grand way, how so many people came, great sages and all, very nicely decorated. And it looked like the ceremony would be a nice one, based on what they would, how everything was decorated. But we'll come to know later about what exactly happened then. So this is all that I had, and the first. Just to recap about the verses. The first verse is talking about how Lord. The first verse was that how Daksha is beginning a sacrifice, beginning two sacrifices. And then Srila Prabhupada says, not inviting Lord Shiva was a big mistake, and how Krishna actually wants his devotees to be satisfied first. And, actually coming to think about it, even we do Prabhupada Aarti in our temples. I forgot to mention this, to mention it now. So Srila Prabhupada is a pure devotee of Lord Krishna. So Lord Krishna is very, very happy, in his ISKCON temples, I'm sure. So, so this way, and then we, of course, discussed a little bit about the three levels of devotees in Vaishnava Prad. And the second verse is how everything was, there are a lot of grand arrangements, and now everybody's arriving at the scene of the sacrifice, very nicely dressed. So that's all I have. If anyone has any comments or additions or, anything else, please feel free to share right now. If not, then I think we'll just stop, and thank you all for attending. And Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.